guys, it's Miles here.
My name is Mohammed.
And welcome to the Golden Hour podcast. And today we're going to be talking about how social networking platforms evolve to better serve the aging population and by building healthy communities, reducing isolation, and anticipating the needs of the older adults in the future.
Before we get into that, let's hear some kind words from our sponsors.
What's going on in there, man? Let's take Hey, what's going on, guys? What are you guys doing? Why aren't you in class?
We're just talking about aging population, man.
And aging what?
Have you not heard about it?
What is this? What aging what?
Open your ears. The aging population. It talks about real patient care with real doctors and real healthcare workers that explain their struggles when it comes to patient care.
No way. So where can I learn more about this?
You know what? Follow me.
Stay tuned at
Six Men, One Mind.
Thank you for those kind words. We really appreciate it. Now back to you, Miles.
Yes, thank you guys. We really need your help. And like I said, so before we get into exactly what we're going to talk about, I want to make sure that the viewers understand what really is a social network. So a social network is how people connect, interact, and form communities both in physical spaces, like clubs or events, or in an online space, like social media. So Mo, what are some examples of a social network for you?
Well, for me, I love to go to the gym, and I also like to go out with my friends, go out to eat, socialize, just communicate with more of my friends, What about you?
Yeah, same thing with me, like hanging out with friends. I love to eat, love to socialize. And simply like one of my next favorite things to do is just play soccer with my friends on the weekend, or just talk to family online through Facebook, Instagram, or FaceTime, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Another question I have for you is like, what are some needs you think the older population will need in the future to reduce isolation? And keep in mind, we're only getting older. So it could be something for yourself as well.
Well, when I'm older, I feel like I would love to participate in more swimming classes because I love to swim. And also just for like the regular older generation, I feel like that just going outside and just communicating with friends, whether it's going to bingo classes or just playing card games with a couple of friends, is really good for people their age. What about you?
Yeah, and I see the card game stuff a lot. A lot of the older people in the community, I already see that a lot. Mm-hmm. But for me, I feel like we don't know where we'll be in our golden years. Mm-hmm. We could still be at home getting help from family members, or we could be in a retirement community. And we just never know. But something I think that I would never lose the ability is to just watch sports in a group. Like I'm sure you know that, like just watching like ball with your friends, soccer with your friends, like that's just something nice. And like I'm an avid sports fan, and I feel like maybe like when I'm older, watch parties like doesn't have to just be for the Super Bowl, but like even just like on a weekend, us just watching soccer, whether it be like in a group like in person or like on a call or a group FaceTime, that would be something that's great. So building on to that, guys, we're gonna have a special guest today. Her name is Shelby Williams. She has over 8 years of experience in development. She has a strong report in building in community organization, campaign management, and municipal administration. So Shelby, we just want to thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Hi, hello. My name is Shelby Williams, and I would consider myself to be a professional in all things regarding quality of life, especially how it impacts marginalized communities. To introduce myself, I have more than one job, a real Jamaican. In my 9 to 5, I'm a director of development for one of our state's largest LGBTQ centers. And I dabble in corporate philanthropy and ensuring that life saving support programs are available and funded and accessible. And in my business, I have an organization called Colored Hemisphere where I do DEI, which is diversity, equity, inclusion consulting. And I specialize in crisis prevention, improving the quality of life, and alleviating harm of oppressive systems um, for marginalized communities.
All right, great to hear you're doing well. My colleague Mohammed has some questions for you.
Hi, Shelby. Before we get started, we want to ask you a few questions. But before that, I want to explain to you how a social network works. So, social network is how people connect, interact, and form communities in both physical spaces and online spaces. Now, if you could design the ideal social network for older adults from scratch, what features would it have?
So a lot of these social networks that were originally designed are like disappearing. But our Connecticut legislature has really made, moves to, immediate the harm. And in designing an ideal social network, one of the bills, or many of the bills, really tackled like the issue of housing, senior center homes that are designed for, elder populations to live and die in their homes. It's very popular in my state, which is Connecticut, to have aged living residential communities, which are privatized, very expensive, and basically act as an inter-community specifically for adults who are 55 plus. And that social network, it acts as like a community thread. If that were to be digitized, I would say it's like Facebook, but definitely not to like the monopolized degree of like Instagram. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They're not influencers, but the features of all of the things that I see in real life, I would think of it being digitized in a communal level in Facebook.
Well, that was great, Shelby.
All right. Another question I have for you is how do you think social networks will need to change over the next decade as the population continues to age?
It's very common that they would experience the spread of STIs, as well as other sexually, transmitted infections. Um, and it's become, such a problem that they've incorporated, sexual education in the programming as well as like testing services on site at some of these facilities. And I think, for example, like with social networks over time, just as much as like that issue has came up over time in the administration of a lot of these housing centers, is that they're going to adapt to like the societal need as things continue to develop, innovate, and change. um it really has been more of like, you know I would say a recent initiative for senior homes to take on, that kind of proactive nature and having like, STI prevention and education. But these conversations are being had because it's become literally epidemics within the housing centers. So I feel like, social networks, as a like society continue to age, but definitely age with technology, I think that we will, continue to like curate new things that will like, you know, remediate harm.
I think that's some good things to think about.
Now, what innovations today gives you the most hope for building healthier, more connected communities for seniors in the future?
I think that's a great question because I think that we are in a time of social services and administration of social services to prioritize marginalized communities, and aged populations are a marginalized community because they are on the outskirts typically of, resources when it comes to access. And as we continue to improve, social services and the administration of it, we think about how to improve, the physical spaces of senior housing and, aged out, or die in of living residential um, complexes, to have programs and services, as well as like opportunities for uh, aged individuals to connect with their identity groups. In my 9 to 5, as a, you know director of development of Connecticut's one of Connecticut's largest LGBTQ resource centers, we provide programming for aged gays, essentially. One example of this is like a bunch of them would like pretty much, gather on a monthly or bi-monthly basis and talk and build community among the 55 plus. And, you know, as aged individuals, especially within the queer community, having like a space to gather and to congregate and to celebrate their lives as like a true milestone of progress, because it was not too long ago that we didn't really get to see a lot of our aged brothers and sisters make it to old age. So as we innovate to create like these programs, as well as like events and field trips for them to go out together.
Well, I feel like that was a great answer.
Another question I have is, what are the biggest challenges older adults face with today's social network platforms?
The biggest, I think the biggest challenges for older adults would face, hmm, is really, I suppose, like how would they stay like connected digitally when they're barely affording to like survive? I mean, unless like you're born with like generational wealth as an elder individual, your quality of life is only but like limited to your financial assets and the resources that could pull into you like aging out into, into your death. So
I feel like I can agree with some of those, with what you're saying.
Now, how can platforms be designed to reduce loneliness and build healthier communities for seniors?
like as I mentioned earlier, I think Instagram is so challenging for the aged populations to interact with, um, because the way that they're interacting with it isn't to its full use as say like someone who is younger might be able to use all of the tools or guess the bells and whistles and the features of the program. Um, when I think about how Instagram could uh, reduce loneliness, um, you know, unless you put in a hashtag, you're not really going to find much of the community on there unless you press a couple likes and then the algorithm will give you what your diet is used to. But let's say like for Facebook um has community event pages. Facebook has like calendars where you could like schedule and send invitations to people in. Facebook had video games where you could invite people to like water your garden or collect crops, or you know what I'm saying. There's also like the poking feature. I don't know if it was still there, but that was like a huge thing in the early 2000s of the poking feature in Facebook. I remember when MySpace came out, and a lot of like similar features that were placed there also made it like extremely interactive and very easy to find community. And for senior individuals, like I think a lot of those type of features is reminiscent of like the nostalgia of the way that they would, be very interpersonal in the way that, you could be a lot more, I would say open and expressive with folks, physically in real life. And, now, with everything in the technocratic age, a lot of our social conditioning and rearing with technology has, I think, limited our ability to connect as before we really entered into the hard stop technocratic age. And Facebook, I wouldn't say is designed to alleviate loneliness, but the features of it, if used correctly, could remedy loneliness because it's programmed to build community.
Those are some valid points. Thanks for coming out and giving us your time, Shelby. We really appreciate it. And just to finish up the podcast, Thanks guys for watching, and remember, you're always getting older, so it's never too late or too early to take your health or any situation seriously. One's the loneliest number, and that's what we're trying to get rid of. No more ones. Have a good one.